in perfect harmony.
Let's begin my lesson by saying that my mind and my heart are always in perfect alignment with the truth that I will bring you this morning. And Advent begins with the idea of hope or faith. The reason it begins with hope is because hope is the parent of faith. And faith, spiritual faith, creates spiritual courage. And so when we really have faith in God, we get that spiritual courage to be able to keep on keeping on no matter what's happening in our lives. It takes spiritual courage to see the light in the face of darkness. It takes spiritual courage to see wholeness in the face of disease. It takes spiritual courage to see prosperity in the face of lack. It takes spiritual courage to see peace in the face of chaos, and joy in the face of sadness and depression. And it takes spiritual courage to see trust in place of change. Because change is always difficult for us. But it takes spiritual courage to trust that change is always going to bring something good into our lives. In her book, The Power of the Mind to Heal, Joan Bortienko says, spiritual courage is more than faith that the universe is friendly and that we are ultimately safe. Spiritual courage is an inner knowing that it is so. So it's that inner knowing that we are safe and that no matter what's happening in our lives, we are always safe. It's more than wishful thinking. Hope is that inner knowing that whatever we need, our need will be abundantly supplied. I like to think inner knowing is knowing with certitude that things definitely will happen, with the same certitude that we know that the sun will rise every single day. It never occurs to us that maybe tomorrow it won't rise. We know it. We have that inner knowing that it will happen. We have that inner knowing that the leaves will change color. We have that inner knowing that the birds will sing before the dawn, and that the tide will always move in and out. So trust in the face of change helps us to see that change is always good, regardless of how it feels at the time that it's happening. Illness, death, divorce, financial ruin, addiction, loneliness, inharmony in relationships. No matter what shows up, when we have that inner knowing that it's all going to be okay, we have that certitude that this is just a detour, that this is just a detour, that life has given us a detour to move forward in a different direction. It's just knowing that no matter what's happening, it's just a detour. And every one of us can think about it in their own lives and know that we've all had detours. And at the time, it seemed very scary. But once we were able to have that spiritual courage, we were able to trust, I don't know where this is going, but I know that it is a detour and that something good is going to be happening here. And so whether it's at your work or in your personal life or in your church, change is just a detour that moves us in a different direction. I remember there was a time in my life when I had gotten a scholarship, a free scholarship to the University of Arizona to get a doctorate in Spanish, because I really thought at the time that what I wanted to do with my life was be a Spanish professor. So I went to the University of Arizona with this wonderful full free scholarship, and I finished, and it was one of those 4-year scholarships where you did 2 years for your master's and then 2 more years to get your doctorate. So I had finished my master's and I was flying colors and I was doing well, and I was doing so well that they had me teaching classes for the undergraduates, and everything was heaven until my husband was transferred to Connecticut. And in those days, it didn't even occur to anybody to say, well, you go on to Connecticut and I'll stay here and finish school. No, you went, when your husband was transferred, you gave up whatever you had and you went with him. And I remember that I went kicking and screaming. I had to give up my doctorate. I finished my master's in Spanish, but I had to give up my doctorate. And I thought the world was over. I thought the carpet had been pulled out from my life because I couldn't get to be a Spanish professor. And you know, I would be standing in front of you now, doing what I love, if that change had not happened for me. If that change had not happened, and one day I said, you know what, maybe I don't really want to get a doctorate in Spanish. Maybe I want one in psychology. Maybe I would rather just be a psychologist than a Spanish professor. I didn't know I was going to be a minister one day and use it with everything I did. How would I be using it if I was a Spanish professor? Well, I mean, I could do bilingual weddings, but I could do that with a master's. So, you know, it was a detour. And it was a wonderful detour, but at the time, it felt like the end of the world. And so spiritual courage is recognizing that detours help us to find more meaning in life. Because certainly, there's much more meaning in what I do than having just been a professor at a college. So, not that there's anything wrong with being a professor, but for me, the real meaning has always been being able to connect with people and to change lives and to know that I was making a difference in the lives of people. So, the next time you encounter a change, ask for the spiritual courage to see it as a detour and know that with joyous expectation, you can enjoy this detour, which will take you to places you never would have dreamed of. And so this morning I invite you to affirm with me, with spiritual courage, I can handle any detour. Together. With spiritual courage, I can handle any detour. And so it is.
Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take